our first presentation, our first presenter tonight is Robin Perlah, and their presentation is "The Kids Are Mostly All Right." So if you give an applause for Robin.
I'm going to use notes. So let me get to the top of my notes. And before I start, I didn't get a chance to put any photo credits on here, so the photos are a mix of photos taken by myself, some of my staff members that are part of the Governor's Institute of Vermont, which is what I'm going to talk about, and then some by Candace Hope Photography, who's a photographer out of Brattleboro. So thank you to all of the people who took photos. All right, here we go. We've all seen the news. Our teens are in crisis. Can't imagine why. Maybe it has something to do with going through puberty while stuck in the house during a worldwide pandemic, the steady feed of unrealistic expectations and social pressures disguised as dopamine, or maybe it's the existential dread caused by the climate crisis, school shootings, and threats to marginalized communities. But I'm going to talk about a different story tonight. We're going to talk about joy and potential, community and trust, self-directed learning and play, where screens connect us rather than isolate us. I want to talk about my experience this summer working with teenagers in person for the first time since before the pandemic, the Governor's Institute of Vermont Tech and Design, held at Champlain College, where I also happen to teach. As someone who's worked with teens for the last 20 years, I can say with certainty that our young people have been radically transformed by the past few years. But also, despite the headlines, the transformation is not all bad. Okay, so for starters, I don't think anyone takes for granted the privilege of being in community the same way we did all the way back in 2019. We have a hunger for human connection and for the opportunity to be together face to face. But social anxiety is at an all-time high, and the lives of our teens are increasingly mediated, with more time spent in isolation, interacting with friends through video game consoles and online servers. So how do we thread the needle and give students the community they crave while scaffolding the experience to help ameliorate their anxiety? We start with low-stake activities that encourage easy and fail-proof social interactions. Team challenges such as finding the hidden Among Us characters all over campus, but the only way to get points is take a selfie with the character and another person. Rather than simply raising hands to vote on what movie to watch, we hold real-time movie brackets where people vote by moving their bodies, but we do it outside at night with the movies projected on the building. And believe it or not, high school students are not too cool for Duck, Duck, Goose. They just need to be in an environment where it's cool to be uncool. We've all heard and maybe directly experienced how isolated our teenagers were during the pandemic. It's true, but here's what I also know. Most of them were not just scrolling absent-mindedly on Instagram, though I'm sure there was plenty of that, and also Minecraft, lots of Minecraft. But all of those hours logged on YouTube, it turns out our kids were actually learning things on their own, all kinds of things, how to code, how to build robots, how to make games, play the bass, how to brine chicken about history, art, and of course lots and lots of useless stuff in between. But here's what surprised me most this summer. Despite, or maybe because of a year and a half of remote and hybrid school, this group was ready to learn. They were thirsty to be in the classroom. And to be clear, this is a super heterogeneous group of students, always has been. But despite the range of academic skills and experience, this group was more prepared and more excited for their classes than any group of students I'd ever had at a summer institute. Upside down learning is real. Kids can and will teach themselves whatever they want to know on YouTube. We can ignore that fact or embrace it. They have a world of knowledge available at their fingertips, and if they're curious, if they're interested, they'll find the information they need. The key is to get them interested. Experiences like GIV are awesome because they allow students to dive into topics that they're already interested in and pursue self-directed projects with the help of adult mentors. If we want to reach students, we need to give them choice, meaningful choice. Let them work on projects they care about, respect their ability to learn, give them the resources and tools, but don't talk at them or lecture. Let them make stuff, arty stuff, techie stuff, smart stuff. stupid stuff, silly stuff. It doesn't matter what they make. It's the making that's important. You've heard it before, hands-on learning, experiential learning, project-based learning. These ideas are not new. But I think the pandemic has allowed students to recognize what they can accomplish on their own and on their own terms. Conversely, it's our job to show them what can be gained by being in communities of learning. If they can't get what they need, they'll check out. It's that simple. So the other thing I noticed is how young this group was, socio-emotionally speaking. I mean, goofy, silly, make disgusting concoctions in the cafeteria, kind of young, acting like middle school, kind of young, which makes sense. They missed almost 2 years of social interaction. But again, rather than seeing this as a loss, I've begun to see the opportunities that this social disruption opens up. They were so full of silly joy, so kind to each other, so lacking in pretension. I think this is really something to celebrate. There was a lack of self-consciousness in this group, less posturing, more playing. It was remarkably different and remarkably fun. Finally, I think I've got just shy of 2 minutes. I want to talk about hybridity. In a minute, you're going to see some maybe 20 seconds, I don't know, some screenshots from the Discord channel, which was happening in live time during the Institute. This chat took place during lunch, and if you look closely, it's a little small, you'll see some disgusting concoctions that the students were making. Lemon float, anyone? And you can see other students chiming in on the conversation on the chat. Some were in the room and some were not. There's a fluidity to the way our students are using technology. They can seamlessly be both in person and in a digital space in a way that most adults find uncomfortable and disorienting. This has been happening for years, but again, the pandemic certainly put digital communication into hyperdrive. And again, in this moment, I'm choosing to look at the opportunities this presents for building and maintain relationships in community, not because I want to deny the impact that screen time and social media is having on the mental health of our young people, because it's not going away, so we need to figure out a way how to change it from a bug to a feature. If you looked closely, the last panel of the chat was a post made in September, 3 months after the Institute ended. One of the students was attending a Champlain open house and made a new disgusting concoction, water, Dr. Pepper, Gingerade, Powerade. The chat picked up immediately right where it left off. Because the community was simultaneously built both in the digital realm and in real life, it's a community that can persist beyond the boundaries of a single week on a college campus. It can exist both IRL and digitally, synchronously and asynchronously for an indefinite amount of time. So, as I titled this talk, the kids are mostly all right. Together alone, they are developing resiliency, figuring out new ways to learn, build relationships, and keeping a sense of humor while surrounded by chaos and impending doom. So.